Welcome back to all our listeners. It's that time of the week again, where we discuss all things FPL on the First 45 podcast, brought to you by Craig and Darren.
Hello, you're listening to the First 45 podcast. It's our last podcast of the season. I'm Joe, and with me is Darren and Craig. How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
It's the end of the season.
He's been on the beers, hasn't he?
Been on the beers, Craig?
Yeah, had a couple, mate. Yeah, first day back in work today for about 11 months. So, you know, the bar was there, beckoning.
Nice.
And there I was.
Awesome.
Everybody
up for a few beers after work?
Yeah, there was a few of us. Not too many. Can only have 6 on the table. So that's what we did. And,
nice.
Yeah, a few lagers. And sorry for keeping you waiting, lads.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's the last game week of the season. So let's get into proceedings, shall we? But before we do, perhaps you want to tell us how you got on this week. Feel like it was probably a bit of a mixed bag. So, Craig, do you want to kick us off as our mini league lead out from the three of us perspective?
Yeah, well, 54 points for me, which is good. You know, looking across the board, I got a green arrow. Captain Salah didn't do anything. You know, I think quite a lot of people did. And it was that probably, or Kane or Bruno. None of them went wild, did they? I have to say, I thought one of them was going to go wild. I thought, you know, it was a big week for everyone. And if you got it wrong, I thought it could be a little bit detrimental. But it didn't turn out that way, really. I made no transfers. I went from 4.8k to 4.3k. As I said, little green arrow. Happy with the game week. Little bit of a bad taste in my mouth about Meslier not playing. And it looks like he's unlikely to play in game week 38 as well after Bielsa's comments. So now I've got 3 leads, lads, all set up nicely, which I set up about 4 game weeks ago. And now I'm stuck here with a keeper, which is blocking me from having another one. And I don't really want to go there, really, with my transfer. So, yeah, I'm not really too happy with that, to be honest. But there we go.
That one.
It's one of them, isn't it? It's just one of those. There you go. How'd you get on, Daz?
Bang average, mate, to be honest with you. 51 points. Salah captain, same as you. He had his chances, didn't he? Fancied him to go off in that game, but it wasn't to be. 46k to 45k, which I was having a little look through my game week history. Game week 27, I was at 38k, and it's been a lot of average game weeks since then. No real big moves, and unfortunately, the season's just kind of fizzled out. But yeah, looking forward to a break and then going again next year. I had no transfers this week. Frustratingly, Phillips was on my bench, but in all honesty, I had a little look at my side, and there was no real route to bring him in. If I was to pick the team again, he wasn't. There was no space in my team for him, so it was just one of them bad luck situations, really.
You had incredibly bad luck there, mate. That bench was sickening. I know some others might have Iheanacho, but to have Phillips sat there with 13 points is no one wants to see that. But as you said, it was a sickener. But we talked about it, didn't we? And there's no route. I'm looking at your team now. There's no route in there. There's no route.
It was looking particularly bad for you before Antonio and Lingard went and got the golden assist, didn't they?
Yeah, that did save my game week a little.
Looking very bad.
Yeah.
Nice swing that, wasn't it? That's probably from the two of them having 2 points each, so 4 in total, going up to 16 is a big, it's a big swing in it, getting those 12 points. So yeah, that was good for you and any other.
Right, shall we dive into our main content? This pod, we're going to do something slightly different, but no doubt we'll be covering what we're thinking about for game week 38 before perhaps we touch into some of the best moments of the season and perhaps some ones to watch for next season as well. So let's kick things off. First area of focus is Man United. I, like perhaps many of you, and perhaps you guys as well, I've got a few Man United assets. Europa League final only 3 days after game week 38 now. And after some of the recent performances from Man United and a lot of perhaps dropped points, should we be concerned of minutes for some of the big hitters like Bruno, Shaw, Rashford, Greenwood? Are you worried about their minute opportunities in this last game week? Daz, perhaps you want to give us your views first on that one whilst Craig's noshing.
Yeah, I think... What's he noshing on?
Noshing? Wow.
Should probably point
I'm
out...
eating.
Probably point out at this stage that Craig's just having his dinner for the listeners' benefit.
I went on mute. I was all being polite, and he's throwing out the word nosh. Unbelievable. Also, by the way, I was about to move my camera so I didn't distract you because I've just gone to chew my bloody mints here and I've got a bit of gristle or bone. So I was like about to go off the camera and I was trying to do it all nice and discreetly. Bloody hell, Joey. Anyway, back to the content. Crikey.
Chewing the mints.
So yeah, I think Joey, the short answer is probably yes. I think there is reason to be concerned for minutes for the United guys. I'm in the same boat. I've got three assets at the moment: Wan-Bissaka, Greenwood, and Rashford. And yeah, it does worry me that Europa League final only 3 days after. Second place is secured now. So I'd be amazed, to be honest, if there wasn't rotation there with the Europa League final in mind. I think, in particular, Greenwood, I'll be amazed if he starts that match. For Bruno owners, he does tend to play if available, but I'd be even with Bruno, I think he's a little bit doubtful, actually. I've got Rashford in there. Rashford, he was a substitute in the last game, so I'm a little bit more hopeful with Rashi. But overall, it's a difficult one. I don't think we can really hang our hat on any of the United assets this week.
What are you thinking then, Dazza, about your moves then? I mean, obviously, I'll talk about that in a second, but, you've got free assets there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? It's just not ideal, is it?
No, I'm likely to move Greenwood on this week. I've currently got no Leeds involvement in my squad, so Rafinha's definitely a player I've got my eye on. Rashford, I'm probably happy to roll the dice with as he missed out the last match. And then Wan-Bissaka, I've got coverage in defence, so I'm likely just to go with Rashford, I think, from United.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I understand. Well, I've got a Bruno problem. Greenwood. I don't really know what to do there. To be honest, I agree. I think there's going to be definitely rotation and rests. I can see Bruno getting minutes, as you said, and to be honest, maybe that's enough for a return from him. But I do see the likes of Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Fred, and Cavani perhaps being rested. Players that perhaps they're going to need for that final on Wednesday. What with Maguire being injured, Shaw being the absolute standout there at left back, don't really want to get him injured. He offers a lot going forward, and it has been actually their main set piece taker in recent times. He's been taking all the corners, so these are two players that perhaps are a little bit indispensable to the team at the moment. Fred just ticks things along, and then you've got Cavani, who's absolutely an impact player. Whether or not he starts or not, you don't want him injured for the Europa League final. That's his stage, isn't it? He can get goals there. So I can see a heavily rotated team.
What a goal, by the way, Cavani.
Like a chip drill, wasn't it? Wow,
unreal.
Shame it was offside.
It was fucking offside. Bruno picking up the assist.
Was offside, wasn't it? Offside, no assist, shouldn't have even counted. And that'd be go. It would have been buried in history.
It would have been a travesty to rule it out, in fairness. So
that's why they did it, didn't they? Yeah. Corruption. They didn't care.
Well done, FPL Towers.
They don't care. Yeah, keep that. That looks good. We like the look of that goal. It looks fantastic. That stands, and we'll give an assist to Bruno anyway. Why not?
Yeah. What are you boys thinking on City as well? Last game week, because obviously they've got Everton. Pep surely planning for Champions League final now. Probably the same with Chelsea too. Obviously they've got Champions League qualification to worry about at the same time. But I'm guessing you're thinking there, you're not going to be seeing any of the big hitters for City either.
For me personally, I actually think that's a little bit different. I think a week's rest in between that match, I think City might actually want to keep their players fresh. I think Pep's going to want to keep the momentum there. He's rotated a lot in recent weeks, so I actually see them going quite strong for this game. But in fairness, it's when can we ever predict the City lineup? So I say it's going to be a strong team. What is their strongest team?
Yeah, I'd seen some interesting data that someone had put on Twitter where they'd shown that in previous finals, in build-ups to finals, that Pep's actually rested a lot of his starting 11, something like on average of more than 11 days before the final. So they were showing you previous seasons with Barcelona and the like, and you basically saw players didn't play for up to 2 weeks before that. So I was perhaps thinking you might not see the likes of Stones, Diaz, KDB again. You might not see them now, but you made a very good point, Daz, as well. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. So who are you actually targeting for this last game week then?
So I've got a couple of transfers, and I referenced already that I'm a little bit upset with Bielsa's comments about Meslier not playing. So not really too sure what to do there. It just seems like I'm now down to 0 there again, which I already was this game week, obviously, having Forster. But I might just pray that Forster gets a run out in that last game. Unfortunately, if I do that, it sadly restricts me to only having 2 Leeds assets, because obviously I've got Melier just stinking the bench up, right, and blocking me from getting someone like Rafinha, who I really like and think could do a really, really good job against West Brom. I feel like he's an explosion waiting to happen. Every game he looks like he's going to bag about 10 points plus. And he was very unfortunate perhaps to get that double-digit score against Southampton when he had a really, really good shot saved by McCarthy. I think Hassan Houtel's comments are promising in that he was going to rotate the keepers. And I think he was almost doing like a 2-on-2 off. And as we saw, Forster play 2, McCarthy's played 2, and now, perhaps it's Forster's turn. So yeah, I'm probably going to try and hold it out. It's really annoying though, as I said, because it blocks me on a Leeds asset. So I'll just look elsewhere. I can actually see, looking elsewhere, there being a lot of goals in the Leicester versus Spurs game. Maddison's not been at the races recently, but he had that patch perhaps about 8 or 9 game weeks ago where he looked really good and was getting in the points, and he had that really good interview that everyone was talking about because he came across really well, saying that he's always looking to improve his game. I feel like it's one of those punty Mane shouts that I had a few game weeks back, Joe, where I threw out Mane and it was based on nothing. There's no underlying stats there to really support the argument. It was more that I just felt like he was going to do something against his old club Southampton. And, he had the rest for a week. And I feel like with Maddison as well, I feel like, they're going to be gunning. I feel like they could get something against Spurs. I just feel like it'd be end to end. And the same looking at Spurs assets, I feel like someone like a Bale could be a good shout this game week, because I just see that there's going to be goals in that Leicester game. Now, obviously, I could be completely wrong. It could end up being like a KG 1-0 win to Leicester, because they're obviously trying to get into that top 4 position, but they do need the goal difference, don't they? And that's the thing with them. If they realise at half time that Liverpool are leading by 1 or 2 goals, they're going to have to really go for it hard. And I just feel like there's going to be a lot of gaps, and I feel like someone like a Bale could really exploit that. I personally think Bale's a great shout this week. I think he's really going to do well. We obviously had a bit of a rest in the last game, so I feel like he could be a good one to look at. And then you've got to look at maybe that Sheffield United Burnley fixture. Sheffield United, nothing to play for, neither really Burnley, but I just feel like there could be a lot of goals in that game as well. And out of that particular fixture, there's not too many assets to stand out apart from maybe Chris Wood. You could also maybe throw someone like Dwight McNeil into the equation, but again, wouldn't really be getting my eyes. And then look, we referenced City. I just don't really know where to go there. Who will pick? I'm not sure. Is anyone's guess what he's going to go with. Interested in your comments there, Joe, that you referenced, because I never realised that he had rotated quite heavily before those big cup finals in the past. I know that he's rested players, but I didn't know to the extent of it. And obviously, someone's looked into the stats.
Yeah, I have to dig up the link, because it's a great bit of research that someone's done.
We'll share it on our account, because that's great. And from my eyes, there's not too many people that I think are guaranteed to play there, but I actually think Jesus will play, because I think Aguero's carrying niggle, probably won't play Jesus in the final. I think he'll probably go with that false 9. The sort of Mahrez, Foden, KDB or something of that ilk. But I actually also think that he actually might play KDB, because I feel like KDB is one of those momentum players, and I feel like he could do some damage against Everton and then take that into a game which is in a week's time. So I'm not again. I really would like to. I've got 2 transfers, and obviously I'm chasing in our main mini league where I'm second, and I want to try and get that first spot. So maybe I'll look at a City asset.
Yeah, just to give reference to that bit of research I was talking about, it's from Anna Woodbury, which is at Anna_Woodbury on Twitter. There's a really good thread. It caught my attention. Quite a lot of research on that.
I'll have a look at that.
Definitely
Nice one.
worth a look. What about you, Daz? What are you thinking for targets for Game Week 38?
Yeah, I'm likely to get Leeds asset in. Leeds been superb all season. So many great assets, and I think for the last game week came to West Brom, I'm likely to go for Rafinha. Spoke about Greenwood potentially not starting for United, so he's probably a straightforward route for me to get to Rafinha. I've got 2 free transfers, and my season's kind of dead actually. So I might have a bit of fun with the second transfer. Craig mentioned there's not a great deal of fixtures to really attack, but one of them I do quite like the look of is the Arsenal-Brighton game. And okay, he's not had a great season, but someone like Aubameyang I could bring him in for maybe a Rashford or somebody else, and he's got that potential there. He could go big and maybe shoot me up the ranks a little bit, try and get as high as possible. But yeah, it's a difficult one this week. There's not a great deal of fixtures out there, is there?
Not too many standout fixtures, is there? Like you said, the Leeds West Brom one is. To be honest, I actually see the West Ham. I didn't really reference it, but I see the West Ham Southampton game being a standout as well. I see a lot of goals there. West Ham are really playing for places. Yeah. They don't want to be, finishing in that 7th position. Right. They'd like to obviously go for that 6th position, which gets them that Europa League spot. So
yeah.
They only have to get a draw.
I'm already on Lingard and Antonio there, so I've got a nice bit of coverage for that.
Same as me, mate. Same as me. It's probably not really anything else there, is there? Let's be honest. I think they're the best assets by a country mile. No one's going to be really looking for a defender transfer in game week 38. But again, as we said last week, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Soufal. Yeah, he's unbelievable. Yeah. I think he's brilliant. I really do think he's brilliant. Absolute revelation. Bombs forward and gets crosses in all the time. So he's always there for assists. But I think if you've got Lingard and Antonio covered, and do you know what? If you haven't, maybe it's worth getting one of them in. Yeah.
I'm normally a sort of fan of lots of goals in final game week fixtures.
Normally is.
Very few clean sheets to be had. So I think you're right on the defender front. I wouldn't be going there personally. Mm-hmm. Right, should we dive into our special feature, which is
special
bit of fun. It's our end of season first 45 awards. So
saw this earlier.
We've got a few.
Looks a bit of magic you've thrown out here, mate.
A few categories here which sound good. So let's dive into some of these, and Daz, perhaps you want to go first with yours, which is our best FPL assets. That's our overall best asset.
The big one. For. So I've picked out Stuart Dallas here. I think he's
Dirty Dallas.
Yeah, he's a player that I've not owned.
Dirty D.
It's a player that I've not owned frequently enough. I think I did pick him up somewhere in the season, but he should have been a season keeper at 4.5. Out of position, highest scoring defender in a brilliant Leeds team. What more do you want? I think he's been superb as of Leeds.
Yeah, Dallas has served me really well this year. I can't disagree with that at all, Dazza. Like, absolutely over the moon that I picked him. There was a bit of a toss-up. I actually only ever brought him in to save some money, right? So literally game week, I don't know what it was. Let's call it game week between 10 and 13, something like that. I brought him in pretty early. It might have been a bit earlier than that, but I only brought in Dallas to save some money, I think, on Tariq Lamptey at the time. And it was a case of, I could sell him for, say, 4.7, 4.8, and I needed like 0.3. And I think it was as part of a -8. And I was weighing up Dallas and I was weighing up Eiling. And I'm so glad that I went with Dallas, because you can imagine what it would have felt like if I had gone the other way. And at the time, Dallas was showing some lovely numbers with regards to his goal threat potential, having the shots. He's been brilliant. Absolutely fantastic this season, 4.5 million. And I've waxed lyrical about him enough on the last few pods, so I'll stop there. Gundo for me is another one, and Lingard. I think they've had their moments. And do you know what that really shows with those two is that every single FPL season, we're all crunching the numbers at the start. We're all putting together a game week 1 team. The game week 1 team looks absolutely garbage come game week 4 or 5. There's always gems in that 5.5 to 6 million midfield category, right?
Who would have thought we'd ever be sat here talking about Lingard and Gundo as some of the best assets of the season?
Yeah,
there you go. No one would say that Lingard and Gundogan are going to have, breakout seasons where they're going to get enough points and really be sort of FPL or at the front of our FPL minds. Yeah. And you're right, that's it. We found it again every year. It's the same when you throw back to that year where Ramsey had that absolute astonishing one, and Mahrez and Dele Alli. When they're at around those price points, it's madness when they can go and just absolutely smash it home at that price. So. And there's every year there's someone around that price that's decent between 5 and 6 million.
Yeah. Just looking, Craig, you brought in Dallas on game week 11 for Lamptey, as you said, so good knowledge. And you've kept him in since then up until 31. You brought him back after the blanks for 34, just in time for him to score points again.
Well,
so,
mate.
He served you very well.
Literally. Do you know what? Just going on to that, Joey, because it's worth sharing this with our listeners, and Dazza knows my style. I'm gung-ho at the beginning. Yeah, I'll lose places. Yeah, I'll be 300k, whatever. But I just play with my gut sometimes and see, and I do moves with what I've obviously watched. Dallas was one of those ones where I was, well, not just Dallas really, it was more the Leeds thing. I was looking at Leeds thinking, there's some value here. I want to move on these defenders now. The start of the season, Lowell's come out. There's not too many clean sheets at the start. And you just got to go for it. And I just thought, do you know what? I could use one of them as a make weight. That's all it was really at the time. I can't suggest that I saw too much more in it than that. But I made a minus. I think I made a -8 that week, didn't I, Joe? I don't know if you can see it, but I think it was a -8.
You went big on game. You went big on game week 11. Yeah, you take.
Was it -8? Was it free?
You put Dallas in, Robertson in, KDB in, and Bamford in for Kane, Ziyech, James, and Lamptey. So yeah, you went. You can see at the beginning of your season, you looked like you wildcarded game week 3 this year. Yeah. Then you were doing. You did 2. You did 3 transfers in game week 5. A whole bunch in another 3 in game week 8, and this is after you'd have had 1 extra there, so you took a minus. You can see
you just got to move. You've got to move. There's plenty of time. That's the big thing, and it doesn't always work. But again, my ranks haven't been too bad over the years, and I think sometimes you just got to go for it when you see something. People are a bit cagey. I understand the hits, and I understand that when you get to the sort of the game week 20 onwards, I'm actually a bit more conservative. I just switch my style. Just go aggressive at the beginning because you can make it up quite easily.
Yeah. Right. Let's keep diving through some of these. I might even add one in at the end because I've got some thoughts on one.
Oh, here he is.
That might interest you. So we've got best surprise package.
Oh, Bamford for me, without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely no question. I just never thought it. Can't still believe it. I've seen Championship strikers bang in 25 goals and struggle to hit double figures in the Premier League. And we see it year in, year out. We've seen it again this year where, I've seen Championship strikers again banging in, over 20 goals.
Your Mitrovic,
are they going to come and do it in the Premier League? Yeah, we've seen it. Pookie, Ivan Toney's now, he's banging it in. Seen, as you said, Mitrovic, another example of that. There's loads. There's countless amounts of examples, and then they just can't do it in the Premier League. For a player that actually only managed to get 16 goals in the Championship in the 2018-19 season, for him to come in then in the 2019-20 season, then for him to come and get in the 2020 and 2021 season, go and get 16 Premier League goals is crazy for me. Like, he's actually matched his output in the Championship. And again, he's got 11 assists or 11 FPL assists as well.
Outstanding. 27
goal contributions. It's outstanding. I genuinely, hands up, and I'm one of probably everyone. Probably 9 people out of 10, maybe more, would have never thought Bamford. Even after 6 or 7 games, I thought that he'd never keep that up.
Yeah.
He'd never keep that up. I don't know when I brought him in. I just certainly didn't bring him in the first
game week 11, mate. As I said earlier on, you brought him in with Dallas.
That was that. Well, I had a few beers. Calm down.
Actually, you brought him in game week 3 as well, so you've been a little bit in and out for you by the look of it.
Game week 3?
Hang on a minute. You brought him in game week 3 and you transferred him back out, so you must have been on the old scavenger.
That was a wild card.
Scavenger hunting for team value there.
I was looking for a 0.1, wasn't I? I was looking, and to be fair, there you go. Mate, I was moneyballing on the game week 3 wild card, and he'd already gone up 5-6 or something. I think he went 5-7, and obviously didn't go anymore. But you think at that price when he was like around that 5. Astonishing stuff. Yeah. Absolutely astonishing stuff.
What about you, Daz, man?
Firstly, I've got to echo everything Craig has just said there on Bamford. What a season he's had. He had a bit of history in the Premier League previously as well, which is why a lot of us writ him off. I really didn't think he was going to be up to it, and I think when they signed Rodrigo in the summer, there was a fear there that he'd be set to one side. And I remember actually when he scored in the opening game week at Anfield, there was loads, like hundreds of thousands of transfers in, I think, and I was actually laughing, saying, "Really, Bamford? What's going on here? The world's gone mad." But he's certainly proved me wrong. He's been absolutely outstanding. But the player that I've gone with for the surprise package is Emi Martinez. Now, I had no idea the sort of goalkeeper Villa were buying, and I don't think Arsenal knew what they were selling actually with Martinez. What a keeper he's been.
Typical Arsenal. Absolutely clueless.
15 clean sheets, and no disrespect to Villa here, but we're talking about essentially a bottom half team. 15 clean sheets. Unbelievable.
Bottom half? I'd say middle tier. I'm going to bail some of those Villa fans.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Bottom half. That's a bit harsh, Dazza.
Well, you scraped survival last season, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
They did, but they're middle tier now, aren't they? They're sort of middle.
They're in the bottom half, though, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Only just. I think they're 11th, aren't they, at the moment?
Okay.
I might be wrong.
There you go, middle tier.
But just
bottom half.
Just to put that in perspective, 15 clean sheets. You've got Edison on 18, and City's defence have been massively. The plaudits have been there for the City defence this year. Talking about a championship winning team, 18 clean sheets, and Martinez to get 15 clean sheets. I think he's been superb. What an asset!
Yeah, he's single-handedly given them clean sheets as well, because there's been 2 or 3 games where he's just been ridiculous, like godlike.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'm going to try and throw a curveball one in for you here. We've done a few good ones. I think we should now do a bad one. What was your worst game week 1 pick? So start of the season pick.
What? Look at it. We got to look. We're not allowed to look.
Well, I can run through your teams quickly. So, Darren, you had Ryan in goal, Brighton, Trent, Digne Robertson. You had Salah captain. You had Son, Souček, Aubameyang, Antonio, Mitrovic, Wilson. You had Walton on the bench of Brighton, KW, Southampton, Bissouma, and Taylor. So who would you pick out?
Walton? Who the fuck's that?
who would you say was your worst game week 1 pick there this season? Got to be out of Alba or Mitro.
I think there's a lot of promise on Aubameyang, wasn't there, when he got moved to that midfield? I think we thought he was going to be almost essential over different parts of the season, but it's just not worked for him this year. For whatever reason. So, I'm tempted with Aubameyang, but Mitrovic and Ryan, they're not looking too good in that team, are they? Christ Almighty! Tell you what, whilst I'm looking at that, I've got to big up Souček. He's a player that I stuck with for a lot of the season. I think he's been a great asset, and
that was when you were absolutely flying.
Yeah, I was.
You probably got about 4 or 5 goals from old.
Yeah, I signed him game week 1 for like 5 mil, and I think he dropped to like 4.7 or 4.8. He was doing nothing, but all the underlying stats were there, and he came good, and that's when FPL feels good, right? When you stick with someone and they come good. Yeah,
I agree.
So looking at your team, Craig, just quickly running through it, you had McCarthy in goal, Trent, KWP, Justin, who was obviously been injured, which was a real shame because he started well. I
took him out too early.
You had Dele Alli, Salah, Aubameyang, Havertz, Mitrovic, Adams, Werner, Steer, Mitchell, Ayling, and Gordon. So
feels like another world. Feels like you've just basically just talking about something that you've discovered on Mars.
Yeah, I mean you've got a few ones that have flopped this season there.
Goodness me. Dele Alli for sure. I mean, I expected some things, and he didn't even get in the team, but he has to be right in there, doesn't he? I mean, he's now starting to play again. He's got a Rude Hullet haircut. So, big things
makes
to
him elite.
expect.
I was like, who's that? Who's playing midfield for Spurs? Who's the new lad?
Who's this guy? Transfer window's not even open. They've signed Pete Rude. Yeah, no, he's got to be up there. Outside of that, I mean, look, Werner's one of those ones where I'm probably going to whack him in game week 1. I'm going to be thinking about him. He was a disaster, to be fair. I kept hold of him. Adams was a disaster because I ended up moving him out after a few game weeks, like many did, and then he started going on a bit of a run.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, doesn't it? Like, you've got to give them time. But what I really don't like at the start of the season, and it gets me agitated, and Daz is less concerned about it, but as soon as I start seeing them prices drop, it just makes me panic. I don't want to start losing 0.5 team value and then being behind the curve. You know me, boys, I like to try and keep that team value in there so I can go big later on in the season, which, again, I've done it now, it's worked, but it makes me panic when I start seeing them free falling.
I mean, I think looking at your team there as well, in fairness, you were obviously thinking about an early wild card, so you can understand why there was a few fruity picks in there, but
there's a few in there. There you go.
A couple of good ones there then. So, okay, let's move on. We've got a couple more here. What's your best FPL moment of the season?
Yeah, so I had a little think about this one, and I found it difficult to pinpoint an exact moment, but looking back, I've gone for game week 2, just the overall game week 2 as the highlight of the season. I think it was a bit of a low point in terms of the lockdowns, and the fans weren't in the stadium, and there was no real enthusiasm for football. And game week 2 was brilliant. FPL was really back with a bang. We had the DCL hat trick. Leeds were proving that they were going to be some great assets. 4-3 victory over Fulham. And then you had the Spurs at St Mary's, big 5-2, Songy and Kane going nuts. So it really whet the appetite for FPL again, and for me that was one of the highlights.
Good one.
Very good, yeah. What about you, Craig?
Finally beating Daz with an FPL season.
It's not over yet.
You ain't going to catch me now, is he? No, 0. What's the point difference? 0 chance.
Yes, that's unlikely.
0 chance.
It's a proud moment.
Very unlikely.
Proud moment.
Yeah. No. But look, all jokes aside, though, I had a couple of jammy ones, so I thought I'd just bring them out. I had Sterling not turning up in game week 21, which meant the captaincy moved over to Salah for a 30-pointer. Lovely.
Oh, here we go. Starting to get to the reason why you're above me, then, are we?
That's right, mate. You need those rubs. And then also, I actually benefited from the United versus Liverpool game getting called off just recently when I managed to somehow wangle Danny Welbeck's 12 points from the bench. Lovely.
Yeah. Talk about rubs.
Yeah, my highlights.
Lovely, jubbly.
Yeah, rubber-dub-dubs. Got to talk about the rubs, haven't you?
That's what it's all about.
So let's perhaps turn our attention to next season then. First of all, who's your one to watch for next season, Craig?
Werner for me. Said it already. I think the German love there from Tuchel will really shine through, and it'll get him firing. So I'm keeping an eye on him. I'll see what his price is at the next season and what the fixtures look like for Chelsea to start. He's so close, mate. He's like there. He's close. I'm watching him all the time. People will be mocking him. People that don't really know who Werner is will be mocking him, thinking he's just not a player. He's never to cut it. Like he's one of them. Nah. He's mustard. He's getting in these positions, just not really getting the rubs. You know, he's had a couple of unfortunate shouts, you know, against old VAR. I think next year, Timo Werner is going to go and get sort of, you know, between 15 and 20 goals, and hopefully he's at a relatively good price to start the season.
Are you, Daz?
So I think my pick here really highlights, again, how good Leeds have been this season. We had Dallas as my best FPL asset. Craig highlighted Bamford as the biggest surprise. And for me, the one to watch for next season is Rafinha. I think over the course of the season, he's been delivering consistent underlying numbers. And I think he just looks such a good player. I think he's not really actually delivered the points which will give him a massive price rise either. I think we're looking at a maximum, maybe they can only really go to 7, I reckon. So I think with Leeds finding their feet after their first season, I think Rafinha, he could be a real asset for next season.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Nice. And then our last award category is who will be your first name in your squad for next season? Who are you building your teams around next season?
TAA for me. Trent Alexander-Arnold, back to basics, I guess. He's kind of showing the form that we all know and love from Trent, what he can do from an FPL point of view. No chance of a price rise with the points tally he's on this season. If anything, he might drop down to 7, but expect to see him around that 7.5, and possibly he might go under the radar a little bit. I think a lot of people come on, do their team, look at like last season's points total when picking their team for this season, and if he's going to be a premium asset in defence, which of course he will be, then you might see that ownership a little bit lower this year. And I think Trent, if I can get on him early, I'm hoping to get a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, I like that.
What about you, Craig?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Yeah, absolutely agree with Daz there. I think TA, again, until he goes broken, it's always best to start with him, especially if he's going to be the highest priced defender. You can always downgrade. And I actually just see it as a fantastic opportunity, as Daz has just quite rightly pointed out. He'd probably be lowly owned because of the fact that he's not finished on a ridiculous sum of points, and so therefore people will look at it and go, this particular defender is only 6 million and he's outscored TAA, so they'll probably go for them. So the actual ownership percentage there will be quite low. So I really like that. TAA for me, but to give the listeners another one, I think Bamford. I've talked him up already. I don't really see Leeds slowing down. I think Bielsa will be there the next year. I don't see them getting carved apart too much. I think like they just have another season at least, and then depending on how Leeds get on, then they might start getting cherry picked by some of the bigger clubs if they want to say, oh, I like the look of Bamford and Rafinha. I feel like they'll get at least the half of next season. So if Bamford's under 8 million, he's straight in my team.
Where do you see him? Is that where you see him coming in around 8 mil? Is it?
I wouldn't say that I see it. I would say that, yeah, between 7.58. I can't quite see him becoming an 8.5 Jimenez, but quite possibly.
Yeah.
You know, basically, actually, in fact, I'm saying that now. I'm literally thinking on the spot here. I'm going to have a look at it, and Joe probably can look at it as well whilst we're looking. But yeah, maybe he will come in at 8.5. I think Jimenez did come in at 8.5.
Kind of that Danny Ings bracket as well, right?
Let's just have a look. Jimenez came in. I know Jimenez had, and I think Jimenez pretty much did exactly the same in terms of output and points. So here we go, Jimenez, and don't forget Jimenez was priced exactly the same. He was priced at 5.5. So Jimenez, his first season, it was less. I mean, look, at the moment I'm looking at it, he got 181 points. How many points has Bamford got on at the moment, lads?
It's got to be getting there, touching similar to that, I'd have thought.
So Jimenez was 5.5 million in his first season, right? 181 points is what he finished up on. He actually ended up on 6.9 million.
So Bamford's on 188 already.
Yeah, and 6.5,
right? Exactly, and also the most important thing here is that the most important thing here is probably the points. So he's already 7 points behind what Bamford is on with what I'm looking at. But the fact that he's got 13 goals and 10 assists versus 16 goals and 11 assists for Bamford, there we go. I mean, look, they brought him in at 8.5, did they? I think. Or was it 8? It was 8, wasn't it? It was 8. I can't remember now. I'm actually looking at it. And actually, do you know what? It's funny because Jimenez had such a good season. It's a real shame that he's had that injury, because he actually ended up getting up another 194 points, 17 goals. I just see, Bamford's that type of player as well. With what I'm watching on the old eye test, he's a very similar player to Jimenez. He's very clever. And he's very good in the build-up. He's strong. He's tall. His finishing ability is a bit like how Jimenez was in those 2 seasons that he was fantastic. So I just see another 15 goals from Bamford without breaking a sweat. So if he's sort of 8 or 8.5 million, then yeah.
Nice.
I think he'd be in my team.
Cool. Rightio, let's dive into community questions. This is our listeners' questions fired to us on Twitter. We've got a few to get through. Let's have a little whiz through them so we can get to the big climax of the four-a-side contest. Right, first one is from FC Crooner. Is it worth replacing a premium asset who may not play in 38? Example given is Bruno.
Tough decision. I think if you've got a spare transfer there, I quite like the move. Maybe if you can get to look at, maybe if you don't own Salah, you can get to Salah or Mane. I've mentioned Aubameyang earlier as a differential. If you've got other fires to put out, it's definitely not worth a -4. I don't think to sell Bruno is too risky. Would you reckon, Craig?
No, I agree with that. I think he's going to get minutes. I think if you've got other areas where you could utilise the transfer better and you only have one, then perhaps do so. And as you quite rightly pointed out earlier on, Dazza, tripling up on Leeds isn't a bad idea. I'm obviously in that position where, I'm on free, but Mele is not playing. I'm perhaps a little bit blocked out, so I'm envious of those that can perhaps bring in someone like a Rafinha. I think that would be more of a priority for me with the fixture that they've got at home to West Brom and how well they've played this season. So, moving out of Bruno perhaps wouldn't be a priority for me unless, of course, you've got those bases covered with Leeds already.
Yeah. Right, move on. Mac's given us a question. Is it worth benching or removing any Spurs assets for a high upside premium punt? They look awful. Obviously, now things are a bit out of their hands as well. What are your thoughts on that one, Craig?
Well, I think, as I said already, I expect there to be goals in the game. And again, I've got both Son and Kane. And, I'm perhaps not really considering moving any of those on too heavily. Maybe Son, but, it really depends if I need to move him on. I feel like perhaps I might keep him. So, yeah, I feel like there could be goals in this game. So, it doesn't really... It's not something that I would be even considering unless I really needed to utilise them to make a move, because I don't have money in other positions. But no, I've got Son and Kane, and I don't think I'll be moving them.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll keep moving on. Darren looks like he's just been taken away for a second, so we'll carry on without him for just a sec. FPL Soccer has gone with the question: what's your top 3 differentials for Game Week 38? I can see Darren's put a few down here, so his opinion on these is Aubameyang. Pepe, another interesting one, who perhaps has done well recently with Arsenal, and Bobby Firmino as well. You got any others that you'd be throwing into the pot there, Craig?
Daz has just come back. You can elaborate upon Aubameyang, Pepe, and Firmino. We've led you in nicely, mate. Did you get called away? Was it kid duty?
No, I was busting for a pee. the old Peronis.
The Perones. Well, Joey's just led you in quite nicely talking about the differentials. He's actually called them all out, the ones that you've written down. Do you want to elaborate upon them a little bit, mate?
Yeah, sure. I touched earlier on the Arsenal fixture. As we said, there's not a great deal of fixtures to attack. I quite like the look of that Brighton home game. Aubameyang, obviously we all know what he's capable of. Did you talk about Pepe as well, Joey?
Yeah, we
no, you didn't talk. Just reference them.
Yeah. It's 2 goals in his last game, and I think he got another goal recently, maybe 2 or 3 games ago. So he's starting to show signs of what he can do, and his ownership is like 1%. So last game of the season is a sort of player that could go off. And then I kind of highlighted Firmino as well. I think we spoke about Mane a lot in recent weeks. Of course, he's another great differential, but Firmino's starting to show signs of getting back in the goals. And with 1 game week left, why not? If you're looking for a differential.
Any you want to add there, Craig?
No, not really. I think Daz has covered them quite nicely. I think the only other one that perhaps I might consider, but I suspect most people have got their forwards quite tied up in terms of there's plenty of options. I'm sure people don't perhaps want to be moving too much into forwards, other than if they own DCL and they might be looking at an option there. And if they are, someone like Chris Wood at only 4.4% away at Sheffield United could be a really good option.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just taking into account the FPL ownership there. It's probably a little bit higher if you obviously take out those dead teams. But yeah, so I suspect that's probably around 10% or a little bit higher. But yeah, look, that's still really good, right? I don't see him owned very heavily in any of the mini leagues that I'm involved with. So I think Chris Wood's a good one.
Yeah. And our last question is from the legend that is Lee Godfrey. So thumbs up to you, Lee.
Legend.
So the question is, will you be podding next season? On behalf of all of us listeners, thanks so much for the weekly content. This is the best FPL podcast around. Thanks very much for that, Lee. Wow. That's lovely stuff, mate, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What do you want to say on that one, guys?
Very kind words.
Too kind. I'm
you,
absolutely shell-shocked.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun this season. Unfortunately, from a personal perspective, I'm going to be stepping aside next year due to other commitments and work and family life, and I guess this is probably a good opportunity to thank Craig and Joe for giving this a shot and bringing me into the fold. And hopefully, Craig, your enthusiasm and love for FPL is amazing, mate, and hopefully you can continue to grow this project.
Well, we'll see, mate. Might just go and escape to a nice Caribbean island, mate, and call it a day. I've beaten you, and that's it. That's all I needed to do.
Yeah.
I basically made this podcast to get you distracted, to beat you finally. Lovely. Job's done.
The most elaborate plan ever.
Absolutely elaborate. Yeah. But yeah, no, we may continue this. I've as you said, there's a passion here for me to kind of continue this. I've enjoyed doing it. It will not be the same without yourself, Daz, and certainly not without Joe as well, if he obviously decides not to continue next season. We're busy gentlemen, shall we say? So we've got a lot going on, personal lives, and everything's happening. So yeah, we're it's a watch this space.
Yeah, I mean, I've made my my piece with Craig and said similar as Darren. So I know I've got a lot of things going on at home and outside of FPL land that I need to kind of turn my attention to. So probably going to be stepping aside, but making sure that can give all the support that Craig needs to get going again for next season, because I'm sure that there'll be some worthy candidates that would be more than willing to step aside with him and carry this on and move it on. So I'm looking forward to being a listener next season and perhaps not necessarily an editor.
A bloody voyeur. What's he up to? We're no side bets with you two next year, I can tell you that. Yeah. Absolutely nerd.
Right, let's move it on because we're hitting injury time now, and we're
well into it, and we got a cutting job on your hands today, Joey.
We'll be fine. It's the last one. I can get away with just uploading.
Leave the lot in. Fuck it.
Lot of garbage in here as well. I reckon we got tuned out.
We're all good. We're all good.
Then.
So this is our last segment, which is our charity four-a-side. This is the last week of it, so there's a lot of money at stake for this week.
Woo!
So basically, for anyone who might be tuning in for the first time or hearing this for the first time, Craig and Daz taking each other on.
£150 out of pocket.
One of them's going to be paying £100 to my charity. Darren's looking very likely he might be £150 to mine charity.
Can't wait to see him donate that.
So,
hey, come on, community.
We'll make sure that we got the big comedy-sized check ready for that one. So these guys are taking each other on. They're also taking on the FPL Twitter community. And if the community beat Craig and Daz, they're getting out extra 50 quid. So that could be happening on a serious note, as we just mentioned, because Daz is trailing at the moment. So let's get on to the current scores. In the lead with 351 points is Craig. And not too far behind them is the FPL community, only 10 points behind on 341. And then trailing with a further 6-point deficit is Daz, who's at the back of the pack now. Which, is probably only 4 or 5 weeks ago, Dad, you were actually leading out. So it's been a bit fruity. I can't possibly imagine what might have caused your decline in the FPL, to be honest with you, mate. But there we go. Right. So this week from the FPL community, we've got Andy, FPL Teach Mode, who's going to be taking on Craig and Daz. His Twitter handle is at FPL Mode. Let's have a listen to Andy's team, who's going to be taking on the guys.
Hello, this is Andy, FPL Teach Mode here, and I'm absolutely delighted to be taking on Craig and Darren for Game Week 38 in the charity four-a-side competition by representing the community, which basically means I'm the good guy, they're the bad guy, and they have to let me win. Lovely stuff. Anyway, let's get down to business. My interesting fact about me that no one else knows is that I was actually very, very close to becoming a pilot in the RAF before I joined uni and became a teacher. So you never know, I may have been FPL pilot mode, not FPL teach mode. There you go. Anyway, my picks for this week. So in goal, I am going for Meslier, 4.8 million at home to West Bromwich Albion. I do believe they're going to keep a clean sheet. They're looking very good defensively at the moment, and I don't have a problem going for this keeper. My second choice is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He has got Crystal Palace at home. That is almost a nailed-on clean sheet, and I fancy him to show Southgate why he should be taking him to the Euros. My third pick in midfield is Rafinha. I think Rafinha is starting to look less rusty since his injury, and I have no reason to believe that he shouldn't haul against West Bromwich Albion at home. He's been creating like mad. He just needs to get that finishing touch, and I think he could be getting a goal or assist in this last fixture. And my final pick is Mikel Antonio, 6.6 million, playing against Southampton at home. West Ham, last game of the season, in front of the fans. I don't see why they can't do well. So all of my picks are at home. Let's see how they do. Altogether, 24.7 million spent. No, sorry, 24.6 million spent. I don't think that's bad. 0.4 million in the bank. Good luck, boys. I've never lost to you. That's a fact. Give it a go. Bye.
Fucking hell. Meslier ain't not even playing, is he?
Just goes to show that the earlier recording has stumped our community guest here this week. So I'm going to go back to Andy and I'm going to give him an opportunity to bring in another goalkeeper.
Give him a trade there.
Yeah, he's got a trade. Much to Darren's dislike, considering that the community is actually 6 points
I've got my work out, boys. I have.
6 points and £50 extra.
Do you know what? Ooh. I ain't given up yet, though. Still there, 16 points, so I can do it.
Yeah, mate.
Do you know what?
You can do it.
If you end up being the worthy winner, then I'll quite happily hand over that cheque to mine charity. Great cause.
Yeah.
Great cause, absolutely.
Right, Daz, you've got the honour, mate, which might
First
actually
pick, mate.
really
Honours,
help you.
honours.
So, who are you going for?
I'm going to go for that man, Rafinha. Player I've spoke about quite a lot this pod. Nice price point at 5.5. Rafinha.
Yeah. Then I'll go for I'm going to go for man like Bamford.
Going Bamford.
Leeds. Nice.
Bammy.
I'm going to go for Andrew Robertson.
Nice.
7.2.
Contributed a few assists in the last game week, 37, so definitely some potential there.
Okay. I'm going to go for Casilla in goal then. Hopefully he plays 4.1.
Wow. He's gone there. He's diced with it. He's diced with
It's a dice, isn't
potential
it?
death there.
Well, I need to have a little tot up now before I go any further, unfortunately. Bear with me.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely looking golden here. Do you want me to give my last picks? I can't I? Anyway,
you go ahead,
last
mate.
week. Yeah, I'm going to round it up. I've got Casilla in goal 4.1, Bamford 6.5. I'm going for Trent Alexander-Arnold 7.7 and Jesse Lingard 6.6.
Nice.
Ooh.
Jay Lings.
Comes in at 24.9.
Oh. He's made up with that. For anyone who can't see Craig at the moment, he's currently in the Usain Bolt pose.
Okay, I'm going to go for Mikel Antonio, open for a Game Week 38 beast mode to pull me back in the mix. Mikel Antonio, more than capable.
Game Week 38 beast mode to beat FPL teach mode.
Oh, I like that. And then reluctantly, my goalie is going to be Leno for Arsenal 5.0.
No one backs the Arsenal. Good Lord. Anyone think I'm a Spurs fan here? No, I'm not. We're Southampton fans.
Casillas, you've thought a little bit outside the box there, mate. You've done me there. I like that.
Coming at 24.9 as well, mate. That 4.1 million.
Prick.
You could have gone for Forster. 4. I reckon he's going to play. Gamble that. Good to give. You didn't need any more money though. It wasn't a money thing for you. It was definitely for me. I wanted to get Trenty boy in, didn't I? Wee. I'm feeling confident, mate. I'm feeling really confident. I don't think you can beat me. I think it's
in the bag.
I think it's possible. I think it's in the bag.
That could be
famous last words.
That's famous last words. In the words of Kevin Keegan, I would love it. Love it. I beat you.
I've just had a look there as well. You're beating me by 7 points on the car wash side bet as well.
Ooh, okay.
So a little bit to play.
Silver lining for you, Dazza, if you get Joey around in the old man Keeney.
Might get my car cleaned at least.
Sponge.
Is that interiors as well, Joey?
Is it, Ack?
Gotta be. It's gotta be. It's got to be.
Got 2 kids
now.
now.
The outside. Got to give it a hoover. Got to give it a hoover and a polish and a wax.
Be whipping it around Tesco's or any other good supermarket.
Oh dear. Well, that's it, isn't it?
That is a wrap for the season, and looking forward to hearing this podcast continue into the future. So enjoy the rest of the season, and looking forward to what comes of it on all the banter fronts when Craig finally does cross the line as the winner of.
He's fucking writing me off already. Unbelievable.
You've lost. I think you've lost the mini league, haven't you? So.
I thought you were talking about the 4-a-side.
Wow. Now you mention it.
60. Oh, mate. Here we go. I think it's all not looking great for you as it does, but at least you get your car clean.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
See you, everyone.
Points.
See you, Usain.
If you have to wash a car, do shit in your mini league, pay £150 to mine charity.
I ain't playing again. It's been done.
Oh dear, he's retired. He's put his podcast boots up. That's it.
He's hanging his mic up.
Is that enough? Right, let's love everyone and leave them.
Pleasure,
take
boys.
care, guys.
Pleasure as always.